This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks, folks. The playoffs are set. At least for the Knicks, they are. They'll be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers as the 5th seed. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 4th seed. So from here on out, for these final 3 games, you would expect that the Knicks are going to sit a lot of people starting tonight. Already, we know, obviously, Julius Randle is out. Jalen Brunson is out. RJ Barrett is questionable. I think RJ Barrett might play just so that he can get some games under his belt, 1 or 2 games under his belt before he rests. And for the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton is out. Miles Turner is out. Chris Duarte is out. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Josh, what's popping with you, man? How you feeling?
What up, Sam? What up, Andy? Salute to the chat out there. Salute to the NBK family. I have no problem with the Knicks resting Jalen Brunson tonight, for his wrist. I think he can, if he really wanted to, he can still play. But I have no problem with the Knicks resting him. I said that before. And RJ, we'll see. I don't think the Knicks really are pressed to play any of these guys, particularly if they're nicked up or banged up or whatever. RJ, I know his situation was he had a cold or something. He was under the weather a little bit. So, it's a good chance that he can play or that he will play. But if I'm the Knicks, I'm in no rush to play any of these guys. We already have at least the 6th spot locked up. And I believe based on the matchups.
Actually, they have the 5th spot locked up.
Brooklyn lost twice?
No, it's not that Brooklyn lost. Not that they lost twice, but Philadelphia won. Who was it? And Cleveland beat Indiana. And all the way down the line, the Knicks own the tiebreaker of beating the most playoff teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's like deep into the deep into it, the tiebreakers. But they won that tie of who beat the most playoff teams because the only playoff team left on the schedule for the Brooklyn Nets is Philadelphia. And even if they win that game, they'd be 500, and the Knicks are like 2 games above 500 in beating playoff teams. So essentially, they've clinched that 5th spot already.
Oh, we're good then. Yeah. So, all right, yeah. So, yeah, in that case, double down on that. The Knicks are if I'm Tibbs, I'm limiting minutes for our main rotation guys and start getting the rest of these the rest of these guys in here, Deuce and maybe Trevor Kills. We're talking about that in the pregame, so we'll see.
Yeah. Andy, what's going on, man?
What up, Sam? What up, Josh? What up to the put to the chat? Happy to be on after the first episode of NBK International. I'm not gonna be dodging, the bullets that you guys throw at me, unless it's hated comments. I'm not accepting, but constructive criticism always in the comments below. Happy to be answering those questions for you and for the rest of the fans. I totally agree with Josh. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see Trevor Kills today, Evan Fournier, of course, because if RJ Barrett, is going to sit, I'm expecting, Fournier to at least get a couple of more minutes than he had last game. And Sim said that he will play. We saw him in the first half or last game. We didn't see him in the second half, which was, a little bit disappointing for me. But, since we got the W, I'm not going to be complaining.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I think RJ Barrett, the fact that he was a little bit sick and, that's the reason he was out, I think he should play at least 1 game to try to get his wind, even though they're going to have time over the, they got just about a week, a little bit more than a week, 10 days before the playoffs begin. I guess to kind of see where you are win-wise, you know what I mean? And open up those lungs, maybe get a game in, and then after that, rest. But when you look at the injury report, there's only a couple guys, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Is there anyone else that you think Tom Thibodeau should rest? Mitchell Robinson. Should he rest Mitchell Robinson? Mitchell Robinson is a guy that's known to, twist the ankle or fall down and get hurt. Should they rest Mitchell Robinson as well?
Absolutely. No question about it. I would definitely rest Mitchell Robinson. There's really no need for Mitchell Robinson to play. Miles Turner's not even going to play, right? I would give Robinson minutes. Even if Mitch starts the game, get him in there, get him a little bit of run. And then, you got Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein that you can rely on to play that 5 spot. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, definitely someone that I would rest in preparing for the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on it, Andy?
Listen, Tim, me personally, I would love to see even, quickly get a game break. I'm not going to say Hartenstein because he's like going after that 82 game, thing, full season play. So, of course, if you're going to ask the players, they're not going to be saying, that they want to sit out a game just for sitting it out. But, quickly also a pretty important player for the Knicks. Listen, we still got D-Rose. If you want to use him in the playoffs, he needs a rep, before. So yeah. I'm not saying play him total, like 30 minutes like Tibbs does, right? But play him today 15 minutes. Play him the next game versus the Pelicans, I don't know, like 22, 23, the last game 25. And you're going to know that he's going to, shrug that rust off of him, and the same with Fournier. You never know. Maybe someone's going to go out in the first game. And then you're going to, how you're going to implement those guys in the rotation. Right. It's going to be way harder. So since we got the 5th seed locked up, I wouldn't be afraid to sit anyone of the main rotation.
And Cleveland has 50 wins, so there's no way the Knicks can get the 4th seed.
Yeah.
That's a done deal. You know what I mean? The way Quickly plays, not that he's been injury prone, right? But, he uses his body. I'd let Quickly get a rest, but he may be looking to. He hasn't missed a game this season.
Yeah, he missed one, I think. So he's like, one behind. So he's not going to have 82 games under his belt.
Games, right? You might as well miss a couple of games if you have to and get some rest.
Or just limit their minutes, right? They don't have to play 35 minutes. They can play like 25 and then, play them the first half and then let them,
Right. Yeah. We'll take a quick listen to Tom Thibodeau, not long, who he's going to talk about RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, just get some injury updates. Not really any big updates, but as much as he can give. And then he's going to talk about staying focused, not looking too much ahead to the playoffs, but staying focused. And then talk a little bit about home court advantage. All right, so let's get it. This is Tom Thibodeau, ladies and gentlemen.
RJ, is he?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he's feeling better. Yeah.
Is Julius traveling with you guys?
No.
Any update on him?
Yeah, just continue on with the rehab here. So, short trip and just, think it's better to be here. You're always faced with something. So how do you build the habits that allow you to focus and concentrate on each and every day? Because that's what the important thing is. That's how you improve. If you start looking ahead, you're going to skip over things, and then you don't get the improvement that you need to have, and you're not prepared to play your best. So you try to build that habit every day, and it's easy, very easy to get distracted in this league. There's a lot going on. It's probably, there are more challenges today than ever, and just stay locked in and have the group lock in. And sometimes, you have everyone's involved with each other to keep everyone focused. So if you see someone getting off track, you got to make sure that they get locked back in. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to think about what's coming or what's in. The only thing that matters is tomorrow, today. How do we practice today? Are we getting ready for tomorrow? What happened yesterday has nothing to do with today, and what happened today will have nothing to do with tomorrow. Every day you start at zero. You got to make sure you're putting everything you have into each and every day. Whether you're home or road, I think you have to look at, okay, what's the challenge that's in front of us, and prepare yourself for that challenge. And obviously there's advantages to being at home where, whatever you want to say, you're in your own bed, it's your fans, it's your arena, all those things. And then if you're on the road, you try to take advantage of it a different way where you're more isolated. So there's less distractions and you can lock in that way. So whatever the situation is, make the most of it to prepare yourself the best that you can.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tom Thibodeau. Well, first of all, you said RJ's feeling better, right? So that's a good thing. With Julius Randle still not traveling with the team, I guess he'll probably be evaluated next Monday, this Monday coming up, or something like that, somewhere around there.
It's going to be something. The 2-week period is going to be something around, the beginning of the next week. So after we played the last game.
Right. So I guess we'll find out a little bit more then. Now let me ask you this. How much do you want to see of Obi in these last 3 games? Right? Given that he's, the only other power forward on the team, how much you want to see Obi?
I want to see Obi. Obi is someone, I think he's younger legs. He really hasn't had much of an injury history since he's been with the team. So I want to see him a lot. I think this is his time to go out and show something. I want to see the Knicks continue picking up this pace with him out there on the floor. And the only way for him to do that is to play. So yes, I do want to see Obi Toppin out there. I think him playing these last 3 games or getting major minutes in his last 3 games, it's not going to hamper him for the playoffs at all, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not talking about him being hampered. I mean, I figured he wouldn't be, hampered as far as, his endurance and things like that. You know what I mean? Because he hasn't played that many minutes. I'm just, twisted ankles, those type of injuries. Are you worried about that at all? Because if you lose Obi, you don't have another power forward though out there on the floor unless you're going to use Josh Hart.
I think that's what Tibbs is going to do anyway. We were talking about it before. With in case Randle goes down, what kind of lineup are we going to see out there on the floor? I think Tibbs is comfortable with putting a small ball lineup out there in lieu of not having Julius, right? So I think Tibbs is comfortable with that. I think this is the time for Obi. I mean, I'm not really worried about Obi. Those types of things are going to happen, but I'm not going to truly use that as the measurement or the sole reason why not to give Obi time. I think Obi needs to get this time.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I think he should play. But, part of the reason why you're not playing some of these other guys is so to make sure that they either don't further any injuries or they can heal or they don't get injured, before the playoffs. And just looking at he could be the starting power forward for the first few games of the playoffs, he's critical right now to the team.
Well, Sim, I'm not worried about injuries. I'm worried about because they've played so much throughout the season. And they've had extended minutes throughout the season. Obviously, one can contribute to the other. When I'm not looking at specifically, injured ankles or stuff that happens, at random, I'm thinking about them getting rest for first and foremost, not necessarily for injuries, but just rest period, so they can be 100% as far as their cardio is concerned.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have a week off, so they're gonna have to, during that week. They're going to have to do some work to make sure they keep their cardio up. Because, you miss 10 days of not playing basketball, your cardio's done. Done. It's out of there. Andy, what's your thoughts about it, man?
Yeah, I'm also playing Obi major minutes, probably over 30. That should be a norm for him. Like Josh said, he didn't have that much minutes in the regular season. He was, playing around out those 15 whatever minutes. So I think he has the gas in the tank to finish out the season. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Sim, it's probably going to be better for him in case of Randle not being able to go game 1. You want him to be prepared for those kind of minutes because that's going to be the situation for him. And like Josh said, Tibbs isn't afraid to be playing the small ball lineup. There are teams that the small ball lineup is going to work perfectly. I don't think the Cavs is the best example of that kind of a team. They're pretty long, lengthy, and stuff like that. So that might be a problem using a small ball lineup. In case of Obi, getting a minor injury. But I feel like he's not playing that aggressive. Obi, he's not a young guy like that. He's shooting threes nowadays. He's taking the dunks, but only in open court. So he's playing kind of safe. Let's say it that way.
Yeah. I will say though, in the last game, you seen him go to the basket a little bit more. So maybe the more that he's out there on the floor, the more aggressive he's going to get because he's getting those minutes. You get comfortable out there on the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I think Obi, there's a chance that he does play some major minutes at the beginning of the playoff, this playoff run. I mean, and he's gonna need to knock down threes. He's gonna have to go to the basket. We're gonna need him to rebound. We're going to need him to do all of those things. So I do believe that those minutes are crucial. I just don't want him to tweak anything because, you're trying to go into the playoffs as deep as possible, right? Looking at starting lineups for tonight, I'm assuming that you're going to be looking at Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Mitchell Robinson. I haven't seen anything about Mitchell Robinson not playing. I think RJ Barrett's probably going to play, at least this game. To try to get his win back, you know what I mean? And also be out there without Julius Randle, without Jalen Brunson. Give him some time, to see how, maybe he gets himself, he's played okay since the All-Star break, but, gets himself calibrated a little bit. For the Indiana Pacers, you have Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, Aaron Naismith, Jordan Noir, I always mess up his name, and Isaiah Jackson. Who I assume are going to be the starting five for the Indiana Pacers. All right, because for the most part, their main guys are out as well. You know what I mean? And, the game means nothing. There's nothing that the Knicks can do with a win. There's nothing that can hurt them with a loss. You know what I mean? So even while they're playing, I mean, in some ways, I almost feel like, just throw guys out there that can play hard. You know what I'm saying? That you're not worried about if they get hurt or anything because you want to keep up your style of play. You don't want guys to go out there thinking about it and, you want them to go out there and play ball, But, I mean, this is still a group that, they're a young group. I mean, you got two young groups going up against each other, so it should be fun. Let me see, Quickly, Grimes, Barrett, Obi, Mitchell Robinson. If that group starts, that's every single one of those players the Knicks drafted. This might be the first time since when that you've seen a five starting that were all drafted by the Knicks. I don't know if that's ever happened for the New York Knicks. You know what I'm saying? That's a good thing. That's a fun thing. Something nice to end the season with. You know what I mean? Any thoughts about the lineups there? Either one of you?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be fun. I mean, this is what the Play the Kids crowd, their dream from last season. This is what they want to see, right? And the Knicks are in a position to do so. I think it's great. And I think that this young group, because they're all drafted by the Knicks, they're all around the same age range. They're going to be a fun group to watch out there on the floor, even if they get limited minutes tonight. So I'm excited about that lineup, and we'll see. We'll see how well we've drafted, so to speak, right? For lack of a better word, I would say.
Yeah. I mean,
I
two of them are starters for this team: Quentin Grimes and Mitchell Robinson, and of course, Grimes,
3.
Barrett, and Robinson are all starters for this team. As far as players that they've drafted. And then Quickly's been, he can start. You know what I mean? So, the Knicks drafted well. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks drafted well.
Sim, you could also add that we got 3 more picks of the Knicks playing, on the bench, because if you would see McBride, Keels, and Sims, you could, if you could try, I think you could pull out a game with those 8 men in the rotation only. I think that would definitely be a first that only a team that drafted all the players on their squad. So
yeah, that's something. And I forgot to add Jericho Sims to the bench. But he probably will play, right? I mean, let me get those. That's wrong. There you go. Miles McBride, Trevor Keels. I had Trevor Keels on the bench unit. I'm figuring Evan Fournier might get some burn as well. Then you have Isaiah Hartenstein. And then I guess we have to figure, is Tom Thibodeau going to stick with the 9-man rotation and let RJ play some 4 with the bench unit? Or is he going to go with Jericho Sims playing, 4 or 5 with that bench unit, so that RJ gets a little bit less minutes today?
That is a possibility. I didn't even think about that. We can put Sims at the 5 and then Isaiah Hartenstein as a backup 4.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Since Hartenstein is going to play, and he's been passing the ball a lot more from the perimeter lately, as a, kind of I don't want to compare him to Sabonis, but like in that dribble handoff type of basketball style, where he can pass from that free throw line extended spot. So yeah, I think that's a possibility too.
Yeah. And Andy, your thoughts? Jericho Sims get some playing time today?
Listen, I could see Sims getting playing time if we sit Mitch or like totally limit his minutes. I could also see in this next couple of games, not only today, we could see Josh Hart getting a game off. I'm not saying that he's tired or stuff like that, but I think he's such a valuable piece in the rotation that,
Right.
One game from these 3, he might be, in street clothes. So then you got more minutes even for Fournier or for a guy like Keels or for, maybe D-Rose even a couple of minutes and move people around. Everything is possible, when there is nothing to play for. And like someone said in the comments, this is a glorified scrimmage for both of these teams.
Basically. I mean, that's basically what it is, a glorified scrimmage. Gene Mark, thank you for the super chat. And he said, greetings, Sims and all. Any tickets or watch parties for the playoffs? Well, we needed to wait and see how everything shook out. And now we're going to look, at the very least, try to put together some watch parties, and we'll look at tickets for the games and see what's viable. You know what I mean? So, just be on the lookout. We got about 10 days to try to see if we can put something together. So be on the lookout for that. All right. We'll try to do at least something in the watch party category. Right. Any thoughts on what Tom Thibodeau was saying? He was talking about, staying focused between now and the playoffs. As you're going through the season, you build, you build a work ethic and you build habits. But now you have this time where, you got 3 games that are basically meaningless, glorified scrimmages, and you still got to prepare for the playoffs. Right, you're trying to make sure your team stays in a certain mindset and doesn't just like relax. You know what I mean? Any thoughts about what he was saying as far as just having those habits, keeping those habits, and not having those habits so that you stay focused for the playoffs?
I think they're important. I think they're extremely important. I think one way the Knicks can do that, I'm not sure what the Knicks schedule is going to be over that 10 days, how many times they practice, but just keeping them together, keeping the team together, having them go to the facility to watch tape or watch film or just little stuff like that, keeping them together, not necessarily pushing them too hard. They're going to have to practice at some point, but I think just have events or have sessions at the facility where the team is always going to be together, constantly thinking about what's the task at hand. Instead of just having complete days off. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one or 2 here and there, but for the most part, be at the facility. If you're not practicing, you're watching film or you're working on individual drills, stuff like that, to get them ready and keep them ready.
Yeah. I mean, you notice Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett also spoke, and their focus was like, I know you want to talk about the playoffs, but we got Indiana up next. So we're focused on Indiana, and that's really what it has to be right now, so that you keep that mindset. We're focusing on Indiana. Then after Indiana, whoever we play next, I think it's New Orleans, and then we focus on Indiana again. Then we can really start preparing for the playoffs. Now, in the background, of course, you got coaches and scouts and things like that preparing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, because that's who you're playing, right? So now you got people back there breaking down tape. I think after the Knicks play their last game on Sunday, I believe it is, right? Sunday's the last game. You give them, you give them a day to just debrief from the season. You know what I mean? And then you start getting back in. Maybe even your first day is like all film, and a shoot around. And then you get back in on Wednesday and you really start getting it going. Because you got to get some scrimmaging in and some running in. Because if you don't, you're going to lose your conditioning. That's the last thing you want to lose. You're not going to be able to replicate the playoff atmosphere. You're not going to be able to replicate, game, the energy of a basketball game. But you got to do your best to keep it up. That first game, both teams are going to be winded. So that keeps it on an even playing field. Sometimes you get a little nervous when one team has been playing all the way up into the playoffs and then one team had a week off. Like, that's the way it used to be. You know what I'm saying? And then you get in, and the team that had a week off, they got to catch their rhythm. They got to catch their wind. They got to get used to going back up and down the court in a game-type atmosphere. Now both teams are on an even playing field when you start the playoffs. So I think that's a good thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you got to keep that conditioning up. If you don't keep that conditioning up, and I'm pretty sure they know it, right? But if you don't keep that conditioning up, you're in trouble. Andy, any thoughts about how Tom Thibodeau can keep them still focused during this time?
Yeah, I got two things here, Sim. First thing is that I don't think that we are such an experienced team, not only about the, playing together in the chemistry wise from the regular season, but the playoffs are totally different things. So like you said, you don't want guys to have too much free time, so they go out of the rhythm of preparing for the teams and stuff like that. That's why he's saying that next game is versus the Pacers. We gotta do all the stuff ABCD. The plan goes like usually. We had success with this kind of work, and I think that the whole scheduling of preparations for certain games should be accomplished. Like you said, after the last game, probably day off. If not, they could meet up, maybe do some things that are not going to involve cardio like you said, but only like for day, maybe like practice free throws, 3-point shooting, just not exaggeration, drills, but also like Josh said, meeting together, staying focused as a group. Don't let them go for a vacation, even 2 days off or 3 days off, because that can throw you off out of rhythm and stuff like that. So that being said, if I'm Thibs, I could try to maybe implement a couple of things that I would want to do versus the Cavs, and use those things versus totally different teams, and see if our players are ready to do that kind of schemes and stuff like that versus Pacers versus the Pelicans, which could be like totally different teams than the Cavs. But see maybe, for example, some defensive scheme that we're going to use versus the Cavs, we can use today and see where the biggest mistakes come through, right? For example, Obi's not, closing out. Someone is not, we can't close out like that. We got to, change the scheme, because if it's not going to be working versus the Pacers, it's probably not going to be working versus the Cavs. And, I if I'm Tibbs, I'm going a step forward. We got nothing to lose here. I'm going all out, and, we saw even the last two games without Julius, the offense was a little bit different. The plays were the same, but the pace was different. They were trying to run and push the pace, started, after the rebound, long pass, throw pass, and stuff like that. So we are already trying new stuff, but I think, it's supposed to be, where not to test it better than in regular season games. Maybe they're meaningless, but they're totally different, opposition. You can't practice that in practice, because everybody's going to know what the drill is about and stuff like that. The Pacers are not going to be prepared for that kind of thing. And we can see how they, react to that kind of thing.
So you're not worried about the Cavs getting any film? Because I tell you, when with my girls, we went into the playoffs for our league playoffs. I mean, we kind of knew what this opposing team was going to do, because when we played them, we lost one of our guards. And so we thought to ourselves, they might do a triangle in two. right? Because we had two, to try to shut down two of our primary ball handlers. And then we seen a video, they played another team and we seen the video and they were practicing a triangle and two. And this was just before they played us in the playoffs, like their last game of the season. And they were practicing a triangle and two. You know what I'm saying? And so for
That's
us,
the other side
that
of
kind
the
of
coin.
cemented it. That kind of, we were like, oh yeah, they're doing a triangle and two. And so we prepared for it. So are you worried about that at all? If you do some things, you try to figure some things out against these teams that you might do versus the Cavs?
Well, for me, I maybe I'm not gonna implement it from the tip off till the end of the game, but I would try to plug it in for a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there. I think, like we said before, after Randall went down, we were thinking and talking about the same thing. Do you switch the offense and try something different, or are you not wanting to show that to the opposite teams? It's always like a two-sided stick, right? You can do it and it can be a pro for you, or it can be a con because somebody's got to know what you're trying to do. Then again, I think looking at the young guys that we're going to play, maybe a couple of them only are going to benefit from it. So
personally, I'm not as concerned about that as y'all. I think during the 7-game series, adjustments are going to have to get made anyway. It's a 7-game. The series is long. The coaches, this is all about coaching. And, at some point, you're going to expose your hand at some point, right? I think if the Knicks expose their hand in the first game, game 2, Cleveland's coach will adjust and vice versa with the Knicks when Cleveland exposes their hand. So I'm not really concerned about that as much. I think, the Knicks have shown the ability to play versatile, at least in the last part of the season. And that's what I like about that. So they can play any style and they can be successful at that. So I'm not as concerned about that. If we're talking about a 1-game situation, probably, but for a 7-game series, it is a series of adjustments. And the coaches are going to have their work cut out for them and respond and adjust to whatever situation the opposing coach is putting them in. So I'm not as concerned about that as y'all.
Yeah, they're going to. There's going to be adjustments throughout the entire series if it goes 7 games. Tom Thibodeau was also asked about, playing home games versus away games, in the playoffs, and basically he was like, you got to be prepared for everything. You got to be prepared to go into those environments. Jalen Brunson was asked about his playoff experience. And he was, I can impart some knowledge onto them, but this is a brand new team entering the playoffs, and there's always a lot of talk about playoff experience. This team has playoff experience. That team has playoff experience. But you got to get into the playoffs to have experience, to get experience, right? It's the only way to get it. And basically, anytime you add a couple of new players to your team, that's basically a new team going into the playoffs. You don't know how that team is going to respond. You know what I mean? It's good that our guys a couple of years ago got some experience because it was the first time Randall's ever been to the playoffs. It was the first time that RJ Barrett's been to the playoffs. Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, all of those guys. And then this year is the first time Josh Hart's going to be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And then for a lot of our guys, it's just their second season in the playoffs. So, it's definitely going to be a learning experience, but I think they can go out and perform well. You know what I mean? I think.
And the good part about this Knicks team is that for the most part, the core of the team, this current group, we got them under contract for the next 3 or 4 years. So if the Knicks can make this a habit, 3 years down the line, let's say, give or take a couple pieces, move on, or we, make some trades or whatever. For the most part, we'll have a team that has been together, playoff tested. Whether the Knicks advance in the playoffs or not, they've been there together. So regardless, I think it's a great experience for these guys, regardless of how the Knicks do it.
Yeah, this is how you build that. This is how you become battle tested, by being in the playoffs and being with a team that's together for a while, and being with a group that's together for a while. You become battle tested. You know how people are going to respond and react. You know what I mean? You got to go through it and take your lumps. And this is hopefully just the beginning for the Knicks. You know what I mean? Andy,
Agreed.
I see, smiling and laughing about a couple of things.
Yeah, I was, having that smile because I loved how Jai said that he's not worried about the tactics, the schematics and stuff. And I was like thinking that that's why me and Sim are doing the coach's corner and everybody's just watching. So
Yeah, I'm always worried about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not
yeah,
trying
I'm
to tip
always
my
like
hand.
thinking, that they're playing well, and I'm still thinking, what they could do to play even better. And
Yeah,
Josh just
yeah.
said like, I'm not worried about that. So I was like,
No, I'm not worried about the opposing team finding out. Of course, as a coach, you're going to constantly think about ways for your team to get better, but I'm not worried about the other team finding out about it. Like, I'm not concerned about that. They're going to find out about it one way or another,
Yeah, I mean,
regardless.
Yeah.
So,
I
That's
just don't
true.
want
That's
them to
true.
find out earlier than when I decide to expose it. That's
that.
my thing. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, when that other team, when they did that, I was able to say, okay, even if it was a series, that first, you win the first game, you have a little bit of an upper hand. I was able to look at it and say, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do against it. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know. I'll say this though, I don't know how much you can do anything different right now. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff is on tape. There's a lot of film. You've played them 4 times. So I think you know what this team is going to do. It's very hard, in my opinion, at least offensively, I think, to start doing things different at this point in the season. Defensively, I think you
Absolutely.
can add things in, right?
Absolutely.
You can add in, just little things here and there defensively. Offensively, you can too, but it's still got to be within your offense. You can't just come up with something totally brand new, because if you do that, everybody's got to learn it, and it takes a while to learn it and get good at it. You know what I mean? Now, defensively, you can add some things in. I think you can do more new stuff defensively on the fly than you can offensively. Offensively, it's got to fit within what you already do, I think.
Like put Mitch in the corner, 5 and out.
Yeah. It's got to be, okay, we've been doing this. We already hand the ball off here. Now I'm just going to tell you to go to the basket instead of handing it off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fake the handoff and go to the basket, or whatever it is. You can make little adjustments that way, I think. But I think, it's hard to do big things. You know what I mean? Big and for me, when a coach does something big, like a real huge change, they're in desperation mode at that point, in my opinion.
Panicking, right?
Now you're panicking. You know what I mean? When Tom Thibodeau took Alfred Payton out the starting lineup, I knew it was over.
You were going there. I knew you were going there, Sim.
I knew it was over. You know what I'm saying? Because he had been with him all season long. He rode him out all season long. And when he took him out, you were like, oh, he's in panic mode right now. He's trying to find out, what do I have to do? Because he's in panic mode. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even really about Peyton. It was about, you knew what that was a signal that we have nothing else left to do. So we got to try something. You know what I'm saying?
Me and Sim took all the bullets for that when we made that take before 2 years ago.
Yep. For real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Sim, just to add what you are saying about the like even checking the kind of offensive schemes, whatever you want to tweak. What we got to remember, our main guys are going to be out of these games, so you're just doing it for like half of the rotation.
Yeah.
So the question is it worth it?
Right. So we'll see. We'll see how it looks tonight. I don't know. Dallas doesn't look like they're trying to give us that, give us that pick. You know what I mean? And they have a tough schedule down the stretch. I don't know if we're getting that 11th pick from Dallas, to be honest with you.
Sim, I already saw a meme where Sean Marks was on the graphic and said like, that's why I traded Kyrie to the Mavs, so the Knicks won't get that pick. I was like, so.
Yeah. I seen I am Jarrell said Thibodeau needs to sit. Take a mental health break, sit him until 4:15. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Tibbs is not taking a break. Tibbs is going to be right there. He'll take his break after Sunday.
Yeah,
you don't even sit down during the games.
He can break a leg and he's going to be out there. So
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Tibbs
in
is
a
not going to
wheelchair.
sit. He'll be out there. He'll be in his wheelchair. You know, he'll be in his wheelchair, wheeling up and down the sideline, still yelling at the refs.
Trying to trip the ref, right?
You know what I'm saying? Tips is going to be in the film room all week long with his guys trying to break things down. You know what I mean? He won't get any rest. He might take a day off, but after that, he's going to be in there.
Tim, do you mind real quick if I correct the record? One of the last shows I did, I expressed some concerns over the Josh Hart trade and the first round pick. So I just want to correct the record for that and let everybody know that my concerns are no longer there. Shout out to Jeremy Cohen from Knicks Film School. Does a great job breaking down the cap and the rules surrounding the stepping rule and things like that. Essentially, as long as the Knicks re-sign Josh Hart and sign him to an extension, it's a win-win. They cannot lose because that pick, no matter whether we get it or not, is going to roll over to next year, and we are not prevented or limited from trading that first round pick next year as long as it happens after this draft, because the Knicks wouldn't be violating the stepping rule at that point. They still have to pick the following year, so there won't be a scenario to where the Knicks can't trade next year's pick. So they're not limited in that regard. The only place where they'll be limited is before the draft. So if, let's say, a player like Donovan Mitchell, who was available for the majority of the summer, if that player becomes available, they wouldn't be able to trade for that player until after the draft when Portland selects our pick. So I just want to correct that record and let everybody know that my concerns are no longer there. I think the Josh Hart move was great. As long as we extend him, I have no issues there. It does not limit us whatsoever.
Yeah, that's good to know. That they can still, that whole thing about the draft picks and everything. Let me see, in the Western Conference. Right now, the Eastern Conference, the all the way through to the play-in is locked up for the Eastern Conference. There can still be some movement as far as seeding. I think Atlanta may still have a chance to get to that. They may still have a chance to get to the 7th seed, although they're 2 games behind Miami at this point. Miami, I think, can still have a chance to get to the 6th seed. They're just 1 game behind Brooklyn. The top 3 seeds, I don't know. Boston and Philadelphia could be, they could be vying. I'm not sure what the tiebreakers are there, but Boston is 2 games above Philadelphia for the 2nd seed. Out in the Western Conference, though, there's still a lot of things up in the air. Golden State in the 5th seed is a game and a half over the Clippers. Los Angeles is just a game and a half behind Golden State as well for that 5th seed. The Los Angeles Lakers, I'm saying, they could jump up to move into that 5th seed. New Orleans,
and Clippers have the same record, I think.
Yeah,
Clippers and Lakers have the same record.
Yep,
yeah.
They're both 41-38 right now. Let's see, New Orleans 40-39. They're still within play. Minnesota 40-40. OKC 38-42. Dallas is in the 11th seed, but they're just a half game behind Oklahoma right now. Right, so depending on what they do, they could still get into the play-in. So there's still a lot of movement to be had out there in the West.
Yeah, and props to Adam Silver for implementing this play-in thing, because if not, we'll probably the last 10 games will be
Yeah, for real.
People would be tanking.
Yep.
Do y'all think that it's possible? And this thought just came to my head randomly. I don't know. But do you think it's possible the Knicks front office was hoping that they didn't get the pick this year?
No.
Was hoping that they did.
Because hoping that they did not. Because the way I'm thinking about it, because they're still going to have flexibility down the road, I mean, there's no room to really put that pick anywhere because most of the roster is coming back next year with the exception of Rose.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no place to really put the pick. You know what I mean? And, you sign them, first round pick, you're going to be above the luxury tax at that point.
But Josh, you know why I think that I don't think that anyone was thinking that even without the trade that they made, that the Mavs are going to be out of the play-ins.
Yeah,
right.
I think that was not a thing that anyone could envision. But still, what we gotta think is that one more pick that the Knicks, brass would have, I think that's still a moving piece as far as the trade goes. I think they have D Rose's contract, Fournier's contract, and guys that are not playing or even are playing, that they will try to make that move for a bigger player. And I think that's why that extra pick would count. They can still trade even if it doesn't convey this year. It's going to convey next year, so they can trade that one. But I think, it's way better that if you had like the 11th pick in this draft, it's going to be a bigger piece and worth more than a pick in 2 years, right? It's going to be like more
Yeah,
valuable for
yeah.
another trade
Or
partner.
even if you
That's
had,
why I think.
yeah, or even if it was the 15th or 16th or 17th pick,
Yeah.
I think it's more valuable as that than not knowing what it's going to be. Like,
Yeah.
because it could possibly turn into,
The 20th pick.
second round
Yeah.
picks. So definitely more valuable. I agree. I don't know where you're expecting a rookie to play. An 11th pick, that's a high pick.
Yeah.
And that person I think would be expecting to play. And I don't know where that person would play with this particular team. I guess, I mean, I think that, I don't know.
Well,
I-
I'm just looking at it because maybe they thought or they didn't think that they were going to make a big trade in this offseason. So let's say that the pick conveys, we get Dallas's 11th through whatever pick. If that pick is not going to play, then obviously, or you would want to trade that pick after you draft them, right? But I don't think they expected to really make a big trade this offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, as it turns out.
Right. I mean, they probably don't, because I don't know I don't know who they'd be going after, this offseason, but who knows what could happen. I think if they were to get the 11th pick, which is still possible, I think they're going to be trading it down anyway. I think they're going to trade it down for a late first round pick, a guy that they only got to pay $2 million to or something like that, is going to be okay with riding the bench, playing in the G League, and a guy that they, has potential that they can develop that could, be a future rotation player. You know what I mean? So I could see them trading it down for 2 first round picks, late first round picks, or trading it down for so that they can get a pick in the late first round and a pick in the second round, because the Knicks have no pick in the second round either. Right? So if they get that 11th pick, I could see them trading it down so that they get 2 picks out of it.
But not in a big time trade scenario for like a star player. Nothing like that.
Unless something like that popped up, then obviously they would probably use it. But I don't know what would pop up. So I think, it would end up being just them trading it down for some lower round picks.
Yeah, I'm still thinking that their plan A is going to be to move for a bigger contract, because if they don't use D Rose's money till the off season, he's going to be useless. Nobody's going to pay him that money. He's not going to be worth it. So that's just like a salary figure that can make the trade work. And we didn't play Fournier basically the whole year, so his contract is still going to be on the Knicks payroll, but he's going to be an expiring contract. So the value might be a little bit bigger. But listen, nobody saw him the whole season, so they're strictly just money figures to the deal, and Knicks still would have to give out the assets to get a star player, but at least they can make the money work. If we lose those 2 contracts and wait till the next offseason, we would have to trade an RJ or extended Obi, even a Mitch, whoever, to just make the money work.
Right.
So
I mean, I agree, but who's going to be available to trade in this offseason?
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe a rental even. If you're gonna trade for, I wouldn't pull the trigger on this trade, but even a Zach LaVine, maybe it's easier to move a Zach LaVine next season than try to plug more assets around a Fournier number. So maybe they're thinking like that. I'm not sure. I don't see a perfect player that would fit this current Knicks team. That's why I probably wouldn't be in favor to make that move. Then again, these contracts, we have to do something with them, because if we're going to just let them expire, it's going to be still a bad move.
Yeah. And I see some people saying, trading down doesn't make your team better. Drafting someone that doesn't get any playing time doesn't make your team better either. Drafting a guy that high, obviously, if it's a surefire guy, hey, this guy is going to be something special, then you're going to make the pick. But we've seen how this front office has worked over the last few years. You know what I'm saying? And they've had, besides Obi, who was the 8th pick, they've had some picks just right outside the lottery and traded them down. You know what I mean? Didn't they? What was the pick last year?
11.
11, right? It's 11 last year. That's what I thought. And traded it down. You know, unless it's a surefire guy, they're like, oh yeah, we're definitely getting this guy right here. I don't see that they would. I think that they would trade it down. You know, they've been able to get value. I think they feel like they can get value in the lower end of the first round. You have to look at salary cap implications as well. You know what I'm saying? If you're drafting a guy that's 11th, I mean, are you willing to go over the cap to pay this guy? Because that's what would have to happen. Or do you say, you know what, I'm going to go down and, you know, get a guy I only got to pay 1.8 or $2 million a year that we can afford to pay, and this guy could be, you know, something in the future. I mean, that's the way that I'm saying. And so I understand what you're saying, that they're like, you know what, we're probably not going to use a pick this year anyway, so let's trade our pick because we know, you know, the Blazers want something that's firmly going to be a pick. Trade our pick to get Josh Hart, and then we'll see what happens with the Dallas pick. You know what I'm saying? So I can see where that is, you know, with what you're saying there.
Right now the Knicks can't really make a big trade for like a star player that, you know, what Andy's talking about, like a big contract. They can't really do that, like a player that's going to be worth draft picks. They can't do that until after the draft anyway, though. That's why the reason why I said what I said, because they can't do it because they don't have a first round pick this season. So once Portland drafts our pick, you know, then they can use next year's assets to make that trade. That's why I was like, well, there's no point. I mean, they actually did the right thing, and probably wouldn't want Dallas's pick anyway, because during the summer, no trades are going to happen anyway. It's less likely to happen, right? They only happen like after the draft for the most part.
Right.
So that's the reason why I said that. So.
Right.
Well, Josh, I'm just going to say that this wasn't a controversy take. It was a conspiracy one.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks tonight play the Indiana Pacers in what is really just going to be a glorified scrimmage. You know, the Knicks can't gain or lose anything in these games as far as seeding or playoffs are concerned. So, you know, Julius Randle's out. You know, he's been out with an ankle injury. RJ Barrett is questionable. I think he'll probably play. Jalen Brunson is out tonight. You know, injury maintenance on his hand. For the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton is out. Miles Turner is out. Who else is out? Somebody else is out for the Pacers as well. Chris Duarte is out. You know, so, you know, both teams are really playing for nothing right now. The Pacers probably want to lose so that they can have the best chances of getting whatever pick that they're going to get or look forward to. So this is a game for guys like Obi to stay in shape and do the things that he can do and continue to get himself ready to play big minutes. Emmanuel Quickly is going to play. Grimes is going to play. Mitchell Robinson looks like he's going to play. You know, we'll see how many minutes they do play tonight, though. You know, even those guys, you know, Tom Thibodeau may limit those minutes some, you know, just to make sure guys are, you know, staying in shape, continuing to play, stay tuned up, but, you know, not risk anything. Yeah. Any other thing for any other thoughts or ideas or comments or concerns?
Yeah, I just want to say salute to Daniel John. Was on with my boy International Andy for his show. Salute to you, great show, man.
Great show too.
Yeah, you had some very, very good comments on the team and your story being from Germany, you know, growing up in Europe. So really appreciate that, and you know, look forward to hearing more from you.
Yeah, and what a coincidence! Didn't he say that he became a Knicks fan because he was watching the Knicks versus Pacers?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, Knicks play the Pacers tonight.
Favorite player, Spreewell.
There we go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time. We're gonna head up out of here. You know, the Knicks tonight take on the Pacers. See if they can get a win without playing their guys. That's even better. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we'll see what they do. We're out. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.